Hello and welcome to 60th episode of Daily Global Insights. I am Sree Iyer. I am with Sridhar Chityalaji. It is 24th of December 2020. Viewers, we will not have an event. We will not have a hangout tomorrow. We will be again resuming on the 28th, and we have a lot of important breaking news that has not been covered in the mainstream media. We start off with the stimulus talks, with the suggestions of the president that the individual amount be raised from $600 to $2,000. Suddenly, there seems to be all sorts of challenges that Congress and Senate leaders are facing. To know more about all that stuff, let's go over to Sridharji. Sridharji, namaskar and welcome to PGurus channel.
Namaskar and good morning to all, or good evening if you happen to be in India. So it's a bright sunny morning here in the East Coast. Well, I think we have a very interesting situation developing in Washington, D.C., which is President has thrown the cat amongst the pigeons. Effectively, he has stated all these programs, which we highlighted, 55 billion, unquantified, is all junk. To give $600 is an insult to people, and the allowance should be raised to $2,000. So it has caught everybody by surprise. And yesterday, Nancy Pelosi was scampering, and he said, "We told you." And so Nancy Pelosi, Bernie Sanders, Alexandria Cortez, Chuck Schumer, everybody kind of raising their hands. Hey, hooray, 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 we want $2,000 to be given. Rand Paul immediately states, making direct payments to these people is nothing more than socialism, so I kind of oppose it. And there is very little response from Mitch McConnell in terms of, whether he is going to be supportive. Now, obviously, the bill has not been officially vetoed. The present $900 billion has not been vetoed. But having said that, President has said, I'm not going to sign off on this bill, go back. So you have now the Democratic House and Senate members urging their fellow colleagues, in terms of saying, hey, come and support so we can get this done in one day. It was supposed to be yesterday, it didn't happen. Whether it'll happen today, I don't know. Definitely it's not happening on 25th. So they may sit again on the 26th and 27th because the deadline is the 28th. He has put an important kind of spectacle. We thought the whole budget was somehow, cooked up because the two important showstoppers, which held back the stimulus package all these days, were hoodwinked when the bill was passed with those two conditions not in the stimulus, as well as these tchotchkes of $55 billion, which we have been, raising a hue and cry about, and also, tweeting and communicating to everybody. Hey, this money should be going to people in the United States. It's a taxpayer's money. So where this is heading, we don't know. But clearly, he seems to have, checkmated his own party, which is to say, go back to the drawing board.
Sir, in addition to this, the mystery of the $55 billion, Trump turned down the defense bill. And many people, especially mainstream media, is not revealing what the reason for turning that thing down. Perhaps you can share that with our viewers, sir.
Well, I think it's almost underplayed and not given the due importance. The $730 billion or $533 billion defense bill he made it very clear, I'm going to veto this bill. And everybody thought it is, the vetoing of the bill has something relating to, whether the funding being not adequate to meet the looming threats from Russia and China. But below that, there's a very important condition. In fact, he states what that condition is. I asked for the 230 liability protection to be removed because the reason is that is the hidden channel which is hurting the national kind of security. So the tech platforms which have hidden themselves and many of their actions, which seems in president's view, undermine the national security, they have been getting away. So they said, I asked Article 230 to be removed, and that should be an encompassing part of the defense bill, not just merely the $533 billion. And this also means that, at least one of these two named countries cannot take shelter using those two platforms. It seems to be the implication, not highlighted in the main media, not stressed in the main media, but just washed under the carpet.
Yes, indeed, and that is the very reason for our existence because you hear it from us first. And we have many more breaking news stories today, so hang on. The next one that I would like to talk to you about, sir, is the 9 months of spying that has been going on US government networks as well as US private entities, private sector. And this has been happening from the Russia. Allegedly, we don't know for sure who has done it. And what is more important is the coloring that it's being given that people don't know, oh, that Russia is just merely spying. I mean, to me, if I'm able to get into somebody's network, why would I stop at just merely spying? It would be something much more insidious than that. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, first and foremost, I have two observations. First and foremost, the size and the magnitude of this attack is quite astonishing. And the second is that is almost incognito. It's no visibility, right? Which was featured yesterday. So this is apparently going on for more than 9 months. The hackers have hacked into the nuclear infrastructure projects and programs, both tactical as well as defense. They also have, it's almost like free passage into the corridor, wandering around, unnoticed. They also have broken the protocols of what they call as cyber infrastructure defense kind of agency. If you remember, Chris Krebs was supposed to be one of the heads of that, and he was asked to leave. Now, we don't know whether anything coinciding with this, but the story is even the cyber infrastructure seems to be vulnerable, and they've cracked into that part of it as well. Not only they have cracked into the infrastructure within the government, there's about 18,000 government and non-government contractors working on these specific projects. It seems like their stuff has also been breached. So nobody is able to quantify the amount of vulnerability and what has been. And nobody is even willing to accept. When I say nobody, I mean not people like me, but people like who matter in the national security, people who are in the field of security, defense, cyber piracy, the defense protection programs and mitigation programs dealing with this. These are the pundits who deal with this aspect on a day in and day out basis. They say this is not about spying. This is something more than spying and just washing under the carpet that this was just merely an attempt to spy and steal information is very, very, very inappropriate, and somebody is trying to, cover this up. So this again, is not visible in the main media, but it's just it's something that people have to be, worried about, because we have had two types. We have had this from Russia. Then we have seen that people have been consistent denying the whole election infrastructure, right? The breaches in the election infrastructure. And, United States has been blaming very specifically two countries, primarily one country, but, there are two countries involved in whether our systems were compromised by virtue of proximity of dominion and other stuff to someone else, or the infrastructure. Forget the dominion part of it, right? Forget it. But, whether the infrastructure was compromised and vulnerable.
Yes, indeed. And we will now take a look at some of the events occurring around the world. The first one is the attack or the aiming of missiles by Iran at the US Consulate building in Baghdad. For some strange reason, this has not been mentioned in MSM at all. It's been a few days since this happened. Trump has issued a warning. What is the latest status on this, and what exactly did Iran allegedly do?
Well, their Katyusha rockets were fired. If you recall, 1 year ago, United States and in joint operation took out Soleimani, their Republican National Guard general, as he was coming into Iraq and making his way to the border area. That provoked a retaliation, and the green zone was attacked by the Iranians with these types of rockets. Now, it's very interesting because Mr. President is making his way to Mar-a-Lago for his, Florida, which is for his vacation, Christmas Day celebrations. Yesterday, he made this comment, which is to say that, hey, there will be. Don't take it as easy. You did it 1 year ago. You did it probably on Sunday or Monday or Saturday. You fired some rockets. It didn't do much damage, but we're not just going to keep quiet. There will be a disproportionate response if you continue to kind of misbehave. So that again is an incident which seems not well covered, but it's also showing that the vulnerability of lack of clarity in the outcome of the elections, how many people are actually trying to leverage this particular period of vulnerability in terms of flexing their muscles.
So everyone now is in this mindset, and by everyone I mean everyone around the world, especially the world leaders, that somehow the clock will run out on Trump's presidency, and then they will have a much easier time under a Biden presidency. This seems to be the mindset, the way people are acting. So we'll just come back to that in the days and weeks to come. Let's take a look now at what is happening in India, and then we'll go to Pakistan. So let's start with India, sir. The US has just now shipped a bunch of Hornet fighters for India, isn't it? Can we share a little bit information about that? And viewers, we will send you a link to a YouTube file that shows you what these fighters are, why they are headed to India.
Well, again, this is not a mainstream news item, but you can see it as these planes make their way. There is consistent message that is coming from the State Department that China has not gone away, and it is basically, if we covered this, which is to say that they were practicing with the Canadians, and the Canadian Army got wind of it, and the Chinese soldiers training in the Canadian Rockies in the cold area, on the mountain warfare in the snowy regions. So, and that was, I don't know who was instigating, but anyway, that kind of was dismissed. They have still anchored themselves. They've built infrastructure. They have built reinforcements in the Ladakh region. So, United States says you need a much more robust infrastructure, and you need to be prepared. So they have sent to augment already what we have, Rafale, BrahMos missiles, and the Sukhoi, the MiGs, and so on. The Hornets have been sent, and they just flew from Maryland base. You can see it in the video. And they've gone to reinforce the infrastructure in the potential event of any mischief being attempted by the Chinese in the border region.
And let's take a quick look at what is happening on the India's other neighbor, Pakistan. There is a video that PGurus put out today, a conversation with Abhijit Iyer Mitra, which has gone viral. Viewers are requested to take a look at that to understand the context of what we are going to talk about now. In that, this program was recorded 3-4 days ago, wherein Pakistan was claiming that India was about to do another surgical strike on Pakistan, when on the Indian side there was no such information. We all know that India's armed response has almost always been a response to something that the other people do. Very, very restrained, very professional army. This is not something that just goes trigger lucky, trigger happy. So this news, when this was circulating, people were curious. What exactly was Pakistan up to? And now we know, don't we? Sir, can we try to connect the dots here? What do you think was the reason they put out this fake news when something else was happening in and around the world?
Well, I think that, one cannot speculate, many things that happen in the country, but two specific incidents that has caught the Western media attention is around Karima Baluch getting, reporting being dead. Many allege her drowning in a swimming pool, but some people allege that it is, it could be anything more than that. Then, of course, we had one of the journalists who have been writing against the army. He seems to be in Sweden. He seems to have either passed away or disappeared. So you have, incidents of this, whether there's any correlation to those incidents relative to what's happening in Pakistan. Also, there seems to be some reluctance. I'm told that many of the people are concerned about taking the vaccine. So, and potentially people have stated that they're just going to alter their DNA. So, any of these events and incidents, how do you kind of not prop up, and then you come up with this theory that India is going to be attacking Pakistan, very shortly. Also, this goes back to the proximity of the Pakistanis to the Biden administration. Though Biden administration would like to say they would like to keep an arm's length. They see India as a strategic partner. But you see more and more of these activities from notably three countries. One is Russia, one is China, and one is Pakistan. These are the three countries where you have seen there's a fake report that came out, or is claimed fake, that is put out in India, which says that India-Russia biannual summit is cancelled, and it's never been cancelled ever. That's been going on ever since India decided to join the Soviet bloc. So the news comes out that that's not the case, and the biannual summit would kind of go on. In addition to the report that was shared about the delay in the S-400s. So I think that your specific question, we can only assume that there is no surgical attack. It only means that there is something else that's behind the scenes. What it is, we will probably continue to unravel as things move on. It also could be that they have renegotiated and a $6 billion increased package for the support of CPEC with the Chinese. Whether they were using this as a negotiating tactics and say, Gilgit-Baltistan is an important corridor, we need this, that, and so on. This $6 billion loan needs to be, signed off. So which of these factors, when you put all these different data that is floating around, you can only kind of speculate that the cloud could be constructed in several angles to justify a specific strategy.
So we will see in the days and weeks to come what exactly is going to happen. We know for a fact that Pakistan is completely bankrupt. And we also mentioned, I think yesterday or day before yesterday, about France renegotiating some of the loan payment terms. So, you see this thing play out. Only one country now is willing to lend to Pakistan, and it is coming at a very high price for that country. So we have to see how that goes. Let's take a quick look at COVID. COVID is again front and center. There is another strain that seems to have raised its ugly head. What is the latest on COVID, and how is India's vaccine response and all the other things that India is doing in its pharma sector helping the world?
Well, I think that it certainly has. We now have a third strain. I don't know whether it is officially a third strain or fourth strain or the nth strain, but this is the third strain, which again they have picked up in Britain. And the third strain seems to have emanated from South Africa. It is a variant to the second strain that was discovered in southeast UK, southeast London. So this particular variant, they have not been able to quantify. It seems to be now, visible in at least 4 or 5 different countries outside of UK. So it's certainly created panic amongst the adjacent nations, and it has created panic even spreading as far back as Australia. So therefore, many countries are now beginning to shut down, not only shut down domestically, but many countries are beginning to shut down its borders with UK, which we kind of discussed yesterday. There's also, it's not yet been socialized or advertised or publicized. They also believe the variant 2 is here in United States. Okay, the variant 2 is here in United States. It's probably already permeating in in amongst people. How many exactly, nobody knows, because unless it kind of mutates to a specific level and translates itself, and people complain, you're not going to see the visible effects of the pandemic. But it has certainly created challenges. I think we covered yesterday quite extensively around yesterday, a day before yesterday, we covered extensively around what exactly the programs and that people are, because Britain did a fair amount of research. That research is not from WHO, but that from the British National Health Service and the British Medical Association, in terms of what they observed around.
Viewers, there is one other item of news that we wanted to cover, which was the status of a Indian ship that is waiting to dock on China. It's about 6 months now. This is a ship carrying coal from Australia. It's been waiting to dock and it has not been permitted to land on a Chinese port. We still don't have all the details, but this is just one of many such ships that are outside on the border of the country wanting to dock, but they are not allowed to. One of the reasons being given is a couple of the ports have a massive infestation of COVID. So China, as much as it is trying to hide it, it is still not out of the woods. It is still having a lot of challenges in terms of containing this COVID crisis, and we have to wait and see how that plays out. So that's all for today from us, and we'll be back again on the 28th, Monday, same time, same place. Namaskar.